The unthinkable is happening. For the first time in decades, North Korea isn't just firing missiles into the sea. It's stepping directly onto the world stage of great power conflict. Imagine this: Kim Jong-un's troops marching alongside Russian soldiers, North Korean artillery echoing across battlefields in Eastern Europe, Chinese warships training with Pyongyang's navy in the Pacific. What was once dismissed as bluster is now a deadly reality. The Hermit Kingdom has thrown open its gates, not for peace, but for war, and the world has no idea how dangerous this alliance could become. In this video, we uncover how North Korea, China, and Russia are binding together in a war game that could redraw the global order. We'll trace the roots of their ties, expose the deals being cut in secret, and reveal the terrifying consequences if this axis of powers succeeds. Because this is not just military cooperation. This is the birth of a new world alignment, one that could push us to the brink of global conflict. To understand today's war game, we must go back to 1950, the Korean War. The North, backed by China and the Soviet Union, the South, shielded by the United States and the West. It was one of the first flashpoints of the Cold War, and it never ended. An armistice froze the battlefield, but the war never truly stopped. North Korea became the frontline outpost of communism. China poured in soldiers. The Soviet Union shipped weapons. Together, they kept Kim Il-sung's regime alive. And for 70 years, Pyongyang has lived in this shadow, isolated, sanctioned, but never defeated. Every time the world thought North Korea was broken, Beijing and Moscow stepped in. Fuel, weapons, political cover at the United Nations, a triangle of survival: China, Russia, North Korea. But today, that triangle is shifting into something far more aggressive. Fast forward to 2025. The war in Ukraine drags on. Russia is desperate. Ammunition stockpiles are running dry. Sanctions are choking the Kremlin's supply lines. And who steps in? North Korea. Reports confirm Pyongyang has shipped millions of artillery shells and rockets to Moscow. Crates of ammunition marked in Korean script now feed Russian guns on the front lines of Donbass. In exchange, Russia sends oil, food, and, most dangerously, military technology. Imagine North Korean engineers learning from Russian missile scientists. Imagine Kim's army training with battle-hardened veterans fresh from Ukraine. At the same time, China deepens its embrace. Joint naval patrols in the Yellow Sea. Secret talks about coordinating sanctions evasion. Shared surveillance technology. For decades, North Korea was a rogue state, playing alone. Today, it is part of a coalition, an axis of authoritarian powers who see the West as their common enemy. But what triggered this shift? What made North Korea move from isolated pariah to frontline partner in a global war game? The trigger was twofold: desperation and opportunity. For Russia, desperation. Putin cannot sustain a long war without fresh supplies. Western sanctions bite deeper every month. He needed a partner outside the Western system, one willing to defy global pressure. North Korea was perfect. For North Korea, opportunity. Kim Jong-un saw in Ukraine's war a chance to break out of isolation. By supplying Russia, he buys political relevance. By aligning with China, he gains economic survival. The turning point came when Kim traveled to Russia in 2023, meeting Putin at the Vostochny Cosmodrome. The symbolism was clear: Russia's future rockets could be built with North Korean parts. In the months that followed, Russian cargo ships quietly docked at North Korean ports. Satellite images showed weapons transfers under tarps. Intelligence agencies confirmed it. North Korea had become Russia's arsenal. And China? Beijing looked the other way, or even quietly encouraged it, because for Xi Jinping, a North Korea tied closer to Russia means one thing: more pressure on America and its allies in Asia. One trigger, one chain reaction. And now, the war game has begun. What does this mean for the world? The consequences are staggering. First, on the battlefield. Every North Korean shell that lands in Ukraine buys Russia more time. It prolongs the war, drains Western resources, and keeps Europe on edge. Second, in Asia. North Korea, emboldened by Russian backing, has accelerated missile tests. Some analysts warn that technology transfers from Moscow could soon give Pyongyang submarines capable of launching nuclear weapons, making Japan, South Korea, and even the US mainland more vulnerable than ever. Third, the alliance itself. Picture this: China flexing in the South China Sea, Russia grinding in Ukraine, North Korea threatening Seoul and Tokyo, 3 fronts, 1 axis. A nightmare scenario for Washington, forced to split its forces across Europe and Asia. And the economic front is just as deadly. Sanctions were once the West's weapon, but now Russia, China, and North Korea are building shadow economies, trading in yuan, bypassing SWIFT, smuggling oil through ghost fleets. The sanctions wall is cracking. And here's the real danger. This isn't just survival, this is offense. Together, these 3 powers are rehearsing a new Cold War strategy, one designed to exhaust the West, weaken its alliances, and shift the global balance of power forever. So what happens next? 3 futures are possible, and all are dangerous. Scenario 1, escalation. North Korea becomes Russia's full military partner. Pyongyang sends not just shells but troops, volunteers on the Ukrainian front lines, just as China once sent soldiers into Korea. Imagine Russian and North Korean flags flying together in battle. Scenario 2, expansion. The alliance moves beyond Ukraine, joint naval exercises in the Pacific, shared missile defense networks, coordinated cyber attacks on Western infrastructure. Suddenly, this isn't 3 isolated regimes, it's a global war machine. Scenario 3, collapse into chaos. The US and its allies respond with maximum pressure, intercepting ships, tightening sanctions, ramping up military drills. North Korea retaliates with nuclear threats. China tests America's resolve around Taiwan, Russia pushes harder in Ukraine. One spark could ignite a conflict stretching from Eastern Europe to the Pacific Rim. The question is no longer whether North Korea matters in global politics. It's how far it's willing to go, and how much Russia and China are willing to pay for its loyalty. North Korea was once the forgotten rogue, a starving nation ignored by all but its neighbors. Today, it has stepped into the arena of great powers, arming Russia, aligning with China, and daring the West to stop it. But here's the question history will ask. Is North Korea just a pawn in Russia and China's war game? Or is Kim Jong-un quietly becoming a kingmaker, able to tilt the balance of power in a world already on edge? Because if Pyongyang is no longer isolated, if it truly joins this axis, then the next global conflict may not begin in Ukraine or Taiwan. It may begin on the Korean peninsula. So I'll leave you with this. If North Korea, China, and Russia are preparing for war together, is the world prepared to stop them?